Greetings, this is Timothy, the living, breathing person. Earth walking, water drinking, natural, simple human being, more than likely just like yourself. Born out of the earth, born out of the natural elements, seasons, and cycles of the earth. In these videos, we're talking about the nature of the times, and today is Saturday, September 21st, 2019. September 2019 is a powerful, dense month. So we're actually going to begin this video all the way at the bottom of the barrel, and then we're going to work our way up towards some of the current astrological happenings and some of those more current popular search terms, such as the equinox and the forthcoming new moon in Libra. This last week, Saturn has stationed direct at 13 degrees Capricorn on the moon's and his own south node. And in just a couple weeks, the first week of October, October 3rd, Pluto stations direct at 20 degrees of Capricorn on the moon's and his own south node. This is an incredibly potent and poignant time of confronting, of pushing through some of these deepest, bottom of the barrel themes as we are witnessing and experiencing them in the world, and as we are really observing these historic patterns, Capricorn, Saturn, of cultural expectations, what's been provided, what's lacking, what we've developed, and where it falls short. And I have to express that there is an incredible heaviness, an incredible depth with these transits, both Saturn and Pluto stationing on their own south nodes. This is an incredibly heavyweight period. These are the two most heavyweight planets of our solar system. And I don't really like to or often pay attention to other astrologers or the astrological community, but I have really sensed a huge amount of overgeneralization and oversimplification of these transits, how deep they go, and what they really mean. It's not as simple or black and white as Saturn stationing direct equals good, as if Saturn stationing retrograde were bad. There is a go-ahead, authoritarian, pushing, forceful dynamic when Saturn stations direct. This can be a time where we generally get a sense of this is the direction, this is the structure, this is what we're going to go ahead and do, okay? But not every Saturn station is the same, and particularly this Saturn stationing on his own and the moon's south node. Even though Saturn's call and Saturn's charge can be, go ahead, let's do this, let's push for this, we have to really be wary of the potential for over-forcefulness, for over-pushing, for this overly militant, forcing a square peg through a round hole, being too hard on ourselves, putting too many obligations or expectations on our own shoulders. We need to be careful that we're not overdoing or we're over-blaming or over-judging, because it may not be that simple. It is not as overly simple and overly generalized as the if-then statements that I oftentimes see out there in the astrological community. Like, if you did this at this time on this Saturn date, then this is going to be paying off for you and everything's good. And if you failed to do this, then this is going to be more of a challenging time. We need to throw these oversimplified ideas out. And it is all too easy for these black and white statements to be overly critical in a way that is going to mislead people into feeling that they're doing something wrong. Hence, we're feeling heavy, or, we didn't put in the right work at the right time, and there's this karmic consequence. No, it is not that simple. Life is not that straightforward. It is more complex than this. And I want to bring up a point here that I personally stress oftentimes in my videos, in my own personal commentary, which is, of course, what this is. You can choose to take it or leave it. Negativity, when honest and realistic, honors the human being's natural experience, in particular the divine feminine and the elements associated with the feminine, which are the elements of earth and water. Those souls that are naturally embodied in their physical and emotional bodies are going to be more aware and more sensitive to the suffering which is taking place on the planet. And therefore, this assuming that if we're feeling negative or feeling depressed or if we're feeling heavy, we're doing something wrong, is not only severely misleading, it is a form of prejudice against those souls that are naturally tuned in, embodied in our emotions, and sensitive to the collective. Okay? So the amount of delusional, unembodied broadcasting out there is not going to let you know that. There's going to be these ideas that it should be rainbows and sugar drops and candy canes if you did this, and it's a time of celebration and karmic paying off. It's not ever this simple, okay? In fact, there could probably not be more unhelpful or misleading advice at this time, because Jupiter is squaring to Neptune coming up this weekend, the 21st. This is really challenging us to look at these oversimplified, over black and white, spiritual, philosophical perspectives and ideas. Okay? And why it's so misleading to suggest that it should be easy or all coming together and perfectly snap our fingers just like that is because there is really this deep restructuring that's going on such a deep level. And now that Saturn's stationed direct, 13 Capricorn, Pluto stationed direct, 20 Capricorn, and Saturn's going to pull forward and conjunct that Pluto in January of 2020, this is going to bring about a huge amount of collective tension. Okay, yes, these planets are moving forward. It's the time to push. It's the time to step up. It's the time to do this work. But the work that is involved is a total restructuring. And this is the point. This restructuring is happening for all of us. I don't think it matters what intentions you had or, how committed you were necessarily. We're all being invited at this time to completely transform how we're relating to the world, how we're relating to ourselves, relationships, work, and duties. And it's going to a whole new dimension, a whole new level as we're waking up at this time to whole new challenges, whole new obstacles that we've never faced before. We've never encountered this evolutionary gateway before. We've never been at this point in time or history before. So no, it really shouldn't be an easy does it. We followed the old teaching, or we, stepped up and everything necessarily came together. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't be feeling good right now. And I'm not saying to shut down your positive outlook or to not see that glass half full. No. But at the same time, I am almost protectively speaking out towards those sensitive souls that may be investing all of this good work, doing all of the focusing, the intention, the work, and the transformation, and it may not be so simple and easy as it all being served on a silver platter at this time. You're not doing anything wrong. You're not crazy. You're tuned in. And the challenges, even the depression, is bringing our awareness to the areas where this work is happening. This is a heavy time. An overall Saturnarian influence holds us down in our physical and emotional bodies.
Sorry for the interruption. Quick PR. While I'm editing this video, myself and the members of the New Paradigm Astrology community, we've just announced that the Getting Stronger with Saturn course is now 50% off. And so if you're neck deep in Saturn material, if you want to learn more and really master this planet, it's a great time to check out the link below. Thank you.
Saturn is gravity. For example, when we go through an emotional depression, this gravity sort of pushes us away from the typical glamour, fragrance. The world loses its color and vividness, and it's more bland and gray and tasteless, and we just get wound up in these redundant mechanical routines and redundant mechanical expectations and obligations. What it means to pay the bills, go to work, be a good man, woman, be a good mom, dad, be a good son, daughter, and we go through these rituals. And is it really what we want, really what fills us up? And not all of it does, and we can lose ourself, our soul, and it's not necessarily us not investing the work or doing anything wrong. Depression is a natural season and cycle of creative change. Creative souls, pioneers, know depression more than anybody else. It's not like they're failing to do their meditation. No, it's a creative resetting. When the world loses its flavor, we withdraw and we introvert inside of ourselves. Another example of this is when we get sick. We get too overextended, or we get too wrapped up in the mundane, and we lose that energy, that taste, that life. And we can get sick as a natural response to either overextension or emotional suppression, which is certainly a common theme these days, is it not? How am I expected to share how I'm feeling when I have all these things to do? Yep, that's the gravity of Saturn holding us in the cultural, systemic challenges. And the good news is Saturn being gravity is also the force that loads a spring. Saturn is like the gravity that pulls a stone back into a slingshot. And the depression, the isolation, the sense of there not being this life, or not being emotional support, or not having that ideal sense of warmth, family, home, a place to kick our feet up by the fire and take our hat off and have some nice soup and just be ourselves and talk about our feelings and be supported in that nourishing, nurturing type of way. The collective theme right now is this is not what we can so easily find. This is a reflection of what this whole world has suffered from and what's been missing for generations. And that's a loaded spring that can lift us off, as we will talk about, into initiating, discovering, and forming those groups, those relationships, those connections that fill us up. But if we're feeling the antithesis of all these things, if we're feeling anything but that support, you're not doing anything wrong. You're tuned into the collective, and you're aware of the collective's challenges and the collective's wounds. This, therefore, is your initiation as a teacher. This, therefore, is your initiation as a healer. We have to acknowledge at this time, this is the collective work, the cultural, societal setbacks, this constructed, man-made way of living, and how it has historically gone down. And there are good things in this, and there are missing links majorly. For example, we sent people to the moon in the United States at the same time that Jim Crow laws were actively still very, very enforced. We invented electricity at the time where sexuality was considered dirty, tainted, immoral, and taboo. Something as natural as human sexuality was misunderstood, no education, completely off limits, and we're inventing light bulbs. This is a wake-up call, right? We are learning the same things in schools that we did pre-World War II. We are currently creating legislation in the United States to take away women's reproductive rights at the same time as we are inventing flying, driving automated cars. I mean, we have to acknowledge what is missing from the world. And that most missing and needed medicine is cancer. It's emotional support. It is us supporting ourselves. It's us being flexible and nurturing to ourselves as a mother to our own inner child, so we can maneuver through these challenges, these trenches in the world, and not blame ourselves, not carry it on our shoulders, not go into a downward spiral of victimization, woe is me because this happened to me, or woe is me because I should have or they should have done something different. It is a time where we're recognizing our fathers and forefathers did the best that they could, and these were generations of immigrants and war survivors and famine survivors. And we are now, for the first time in human history, interconnected via the web, capable of inventing these technologies to change the way things have been. But have we changed them yet? No. Hence, the total upheaval, the total restructuring from the ground up is the necessary work that each of us are involved in. And it's not a punishment. We are a part of the construction crew. And this Saturn direct can give us the necessary strength and the necessary stoicism to know that we are on the construction crew. We came to the construction site with the materials, with the know-how, and we can build this. We can do this. The roaring 2020s are more than likely going to be the most progressive and revolutionary decade of our whole lifetime. But we're not being served this from the outside. We are part and parcel of this. We are a part of this progressive movement, this humanitarian endeavor. And that Saturn loading the spring, the creative frustration, the societal challenges, the emotional depression, the lack of support will lift us off if we get down in it. This is why it's important to honor negativity, because there is too much false positivity in the world of spirituality and New Age. And I'm just going to share a personal, rather Saturnarian observation that the majority of people calling themselves enlightened are disassociated from their emotional and physical bodies, more than likely because they suffered past traumas. And those past traumas could have been so severe, they blocked out the memory of it. So we need to get into our bodies. This is not everything just magically evaporates and we're free and we're floating heads and everything's perfect and everything's cheerful. That is not a sign or symptom of spiritual evolution. It's a sign and symptom of disassociation. And so we're actually doing the opposite. We're not going up and out, we're coming in and down. This is where the work, the transformation, the healing, the magic, and all the gems and treasure chests are buried. I'm also going to say that pop astrology sells this type of fake positivity, and you can measure it. People eat up fake positivity. Oh, it is that easy? Oh, I just have to do that? Oh, everything is perfectly smoothed out? Oh, 2012, the world is enlightened and everything's just going to go into this magical ascension and the UFOs are going to land and everything's just going to happen? Nope. It's not how life works. It's not what the actual doers and builders and pioneers and teachers and healers are doing in any way, shape, or form. And so we have to recognize that even though pop astrology sells, and this gives a doorway for charlatans and fakers, and hence there are more so-called astrologers than actual astrologers that are disassociated, not tuned in, selling false positivity to those people that are just so willing to give their money and time because honestly, we are anxious and want the snake oil. We want it. But we're going to have to learn through a trial and error and experimentation that that's not necessarily what actually helps or what's actually useful at the end of the day. Now this next week, Mercury and Venus are going to square Saturn in the South Node. Mercury on the 22nd, Venus on the 25th, and then the two also form a quincunx to Neptune. Mercury on the 24th, Venus on the 27th. And this is really challenging us to step up and honor our developing system of values. And that's what's going to lead us into the equinox and the new moon discussion. What do we value? What do we cherish? What do we love? What would we love to share? How would we love to share? How would we love to connect with others? And this is going to invite us how we are sharing what we love and cherish, what we value with those who value similar things as ourselves. And there can be an experience of isolation or again this introversion, and I don't know, it doesn't seem like that value system's really being represented out there. Doesn't really seem like I've got a whole group or family of support out there, and this is inviting us to step up. And again, if you're not seeing your system of values out there, if you're not seeing that group or that circle of support, I would suggest that this is your call as the leader to initiate that group, initiate this structure, and lay a foundation for your own value system. This is being challenged by Saturn, the cultural expectations, the societal traditions, the current structures that we've already nailed in. And that's where this dissolving and restructuring experiment work can lead us into so much revolution, so much progress, that this is a paradigm shifting time. If we do pay it forward at this time, we can create the world that honors our vision. But we don't just dream it, we don't just talk about it, we don't just mentally focus on it. We get into our bodies, we do the work in the third dimension to build it, to construct it, because we can. We're capable. This is about strength and stability development. And yet there is this need to reach out. This introversion, isolation quality can come from the bruises, the hurts that we've received from our past relationships, from our past groups, the last time we were in school, etc. On the day of the equinox, the 23rd, Sun enters the sign of Libra, even day and night. Theme of balance and harmony, which I'll get to. There's a wonderful workshop I'm going to be putting out there, all about balance, harmony, self, other, work, emotional fulfillment, etc. Okay. When the Sun enters Libra, opposes Chiron on the new moon coming up, September 28th, new moon 5 degrees of Libra, opposite to Chiron, square to Saturn. Okay. So there is this healing through relationship, this potential to introvert, to pull back, to not really want to share, because the last time I did, I got hurt, or I'm afraid people are going to laugh at me, or I'm afraid I'm going to get tomatoes thrown at me, I'm going to be humiliated, or I'm not going to receive that support. There's a little bit of a creative tension to do the exposure therapy, stick our neck out, ask for support. My goodness, get the counseling, get the psychotherapy, get the sound healing, the spiritual coaching, however you want to get it. Now is the time, and we do have to reach out. We do have to put in energy in not simply isolating or going into the downward spiral. It is so much more effective to honor our values in a group that shares those values. It's much more effective as a group to do this work of reconstructing and to have that support and to have those cheerleaders rooting for us along the way. And so this is about healing ourselves, our individual confidence to initiate our own direction, Chiron in Aries, through communion, collaboration, connection, opening up, seeking out this counseling. And again, the power of the group surpasses the lone wolf. But it's about not suppressing our individual value systems. It's about the creative exploration, the tension that may be involved of seeking the others out or laying the foundation for the others to seek us out. And in fact, this is probably the more likely way to resolve these issues of the past, society, and where we may have been hurt in the past, by establishing a meeting point, Libra, that honors what we value and what we cherish first. This is what I love. This is what fills me up. I could do this all day long. And then we initiate the group or, the club. And it doesn't have to be crazy. Maybe it's just a monthly moon circle or it's, an art club. But by creating the meeting point first, then we get to bring people into our bubble of what we value, what we desire to establish. And this is how that snowball rolls forward and gains momentum. Okay? So we each have unique gifts to provide by honoring our hearts and even honoring, again, that emotional depression, even honoring that creative frustration. It's not perfect. I'm not feeling good yet. Why takes us into our physical and emotional bodies and being like mothers or angelic beings to our physical and emotional bodies. The solutions, the remedies are discovered. And from the inside out, North Node in Cancer, honoring our inner values, and then being the careful, respectful adult who is laying the foundation for that inner child. You're safe to do this work. You're supported to be yourself. It's okay that you feel depressed. It's okay that you're sensitive and tuned in. It's okay that you're drawing awareness and receiving feedback from the world. And it doesn't matter if you're excited and this is filling you up and giving you energy and focus, or if you're depressed and frustrated by what you're experiencing and seeing in the world that is like a jet fuel, giving you direction and focus. We can use that depression, we can use that creative frustration so long as we are being careful, nourishing, honoring, and supportive of our own selves. So the support begins within us, and it's leading us out to establishing and discovering these supports on the outside. We're establishing the right environments that honor our sensitivity so we can be calm, we can be centered. We're not bending ourselves out of shape. And we're not bending ourselves out of shape to meet other people where they're at in their obligations, the work duties that don't honor who we are, the responsibilities that suppress or oppress our inner child. We're finding the relationships that support us and the security within ourselves that allows us to honor and stand up for supportive relationships. Because if we don't support ourselves first on the inside, we are going to be incapable of forming healthy, supportive relationships on the outside. So never more than now do we need to be more flexible, more patient in order to explore and find this balance, this harmony, this bridging together of all these different facets. So we're not forcing ourselves in one direction at the expense of another, or we're suppressing a part of our mental, emotional, physical, spiritual makeup, so that way another part can be seen as this way or pretend to be this way, so on and so forth. Powerful times, ladies and gentlemen. Saturn and Pluto stationing direct on their own south nodes. This doesn't just happen every 30 years. This doesn't just happen every several centuries. This is a very powerful time of complete overhaul, of complete recourse in our world, in terms of what it means to be a human being, in terms of what it means to be a successful and abundant human society. So I am wishing you, everyone, the whole world, absolutely all the best through this rite of passage and through this initiation to stand up as the authorities and the leaders that we came here to be. It is my honor to share my own gifts, and I'm very, very happy to announce another raffle. I'm going to do a monthly raffle because it seems people enjoy it. It's an opportunity to give things away. So tickets are $10. You can win an astrology reading from me. You can read the workshop. You can win the workshop I'm going to announce after this. You can win a 2-month membership to my Patreon community, which receives a monthly transit calendar, new full moon charts, written horoscopes, and a monthly Q&A session. I am also going to be putting in my store the Polarity Workshop as we enter the equinox and this new moon in Libra. This workshop is entirely about balancing the polarities of the zodiac. And so if you love astrology, if you love the zodiac, you know that each of the archetypes of the planets and zodiacs are like a bottomless pit of depth. We don't learn the zodiac and planets and know our chart in astrology ever. It is a bottomless pit that we are learning and growing and evolving into constantly. And so in the Polarity Workshop, we really get to understand the zodiac by comparing and contrasting opposite signs. And you'll be able to take this information into your current birth chart or the current astrology and make so much sense of how to balance out the energy of any particular dynamic or any particular time period. So again, thank you so much. It is such an honor and an opportunity to connect and share with like minds such as yourself. Thank you so much for your support. My goodness, thank you so much to my Patreon community. And again, I am wishing absolutely all the best to you, and see you in just a couple weeks. Please, as always, remember, take care of yourself.